from the city. And I've got this sermon in my head that I've never given, and it's called Remember Lot's Wife. Remember what happened to her? She changed into salt because she looked back to the city. I know how she felt. Because whenever I came out of the city, Jeff is from St. Louis area. This is where he's from. I'm from Shreveport, Bossier, Louisiana, if you've heard of that. So that's where I'm from. My stomping grounds. I watched this city be built, some of those buildings, matter of fact. So when you come out of the city is still in your heart. And I'm thankful for COVID because it kept me from enjoying the city life, even when I went to shop at Walmart. When they had one-way arrows, I felt guilty for breaking the law. I'm like, I'm just going to go this, and that was the social experiment, I believe. So this is going to show us a little bit about us. Jeff did 26 years in the military, so he's got some federal background. I have my civil service federal background. He has civil service as well. After he did 26 years in the military, he did 10 years at the VA. After I did my federal civil service, I did state civil service jobs. So I'm going to talk a lot about government today, church and state. And so we have not worked at every agency in the government, but we've worked at some. And so we know a little bit about how they work, and it's pretty much the same. There's crookedness in every agency, and there's good people there too. I let the pictures speak for themselves. 1,000+ words, right? We've opened our home up. We don't do normal birthday parties for the children. We do missionary birthday parties. And you don't bring my children gifts unless it's a handmade card or a coloring page. So we don't do gifts. We do accept them if you bring them, because I don't want to be mean and you went out of your way to bring gifts. But we've been to UG Pines for training here. I didn't put any pictures of me. When I was in the civil service, well, actually it was after I did civil service with the U.S. military, I worked on the base, Barksdale Air Force Base, worked in the pharmacy department. Being that Jeff did 26 years of military, he was pretty high up in the enlisted rank, and they trusted me after 9/11 as his wife to partner in the program called Key Spouse Program. Now, the Key Spouse Program was a pilot program after 9/11, and so I was one of the very first Key Spouses. I'll tell you about that in a moment. It's for family readiness, mental health, because you've got to be ready up here. Isn't that the same with Christian life? You've got to be ready up here. Your body can fail you, and it will fail you. But here, we must be sharp. So family readiness, whenever the troops would go overseas, I would step in and make sure all the ladies, I had a man spouse, but I had mostly ladies, obviously, had the ladies, the wives. I had to go check on them door to door. And so this prepared Jeff and me for part of the ministry. We didn't know we were going into this, door to door. We did not know, but the Lord is so good in preparing us. And so I took what they write about the key spouse and I reworded it. Meek and Mighty Ministries is a ministry focused on eternal readiness, aimed at strengthening preparedness, personal and family resilience, and edifying the body of Christ. Edifying the body of Christ. And that's our job. We are a key spouse. You are the bride of Christ. So what the military was for us is all of these things. It was. That was our family, our religion. It was organized. It was good. They were so good to us. And you know, we did well in the military, so that tells you how much we were enmeshed. But now, God's army, youth, that's who you are for us, right? We're to lift each other up. So what you're going to hear today is church and state interaction. You're going to hear political information, religious information, names of politicians and political parties, unpopular and popular information, legal terms, and information that some may call misinformation. I'm just going to let you be the judge of that. Current events, prophecy, and you'll see my sense of humor as well. So if you've seen my first series, it's a 4-part series in 2024. It's on our YouTube channel. I have free books in the back. Our YouTube channel is on the back of that book, the book with the dragon on it. And if you've seen me or seen those videos, you might have heard other people even say that Daniel chapter 11 is almost finished. We are almost finished with that chapter. And so the King of the North, I proposed in the first series, the King of the North, I'm going to call the Roman Catholic system. So you can look at the first series to see why I say that. And you're going to see some reasons why I say that even in this series today. The King of the South, historically, has been a system that rejects God, atheism, and all the other isms, some of the other isms. So that's going to set the stage. So I'm kind of catching you up from the first series. I can't go back. It's almost 7 hours worth of information I uploaded. And so I believe that these two powers, per Daniel chapter 11, has been battling each other for thousands of years. And God tells us in Daniel chapter 11 that this battle is not going to be done until he comes. They're going to fight each other. But we cannot link ourselves up with either one of the king of the south or the king of the north. We can't. And so, in the United States, where would they be? Where would they be? They're going to look like us. They're going to try to blend in. The king of the north and king of the south is going to try to blend in and look like us. So, how? Well, I think the Republican Party and the Democrat Party aren't those the two popular parties? So they've got to look like us. Think about it. If your enemy is going to come, you've heard of the Trojan horse, right? Okay. They both have Trojan horses. They both have Trojan horses. I'll build on to this. So the prophetic terms, America in Bible prophecy. America, there's a whole Bible study, different types of Bible studies I've seen different ministries give, where America is listed in Bible prophecy. And what God has done is he has allowed us to see America and other countries in the Bible, it coded in the Bible, but it's really, he focuses on those countries that are really oppressing or helping the bride of Christ. So the bride of Christ, so if the church is oppressed, the Bible's going to talk about the one oppressing. But he doesn't name them all by name. Right, John, he wrote about America. Why should he not? Because we're the last superpower. But he didn't say, oh, the United States of America. Why did God not say those the literal names? Because, well, we wouldn't have the Bible. He had to code it so the Bible would make it all the way through the centuries. I'm setting the stage. Is this making sense?
Yes.
Okay. So religious liberty is what it's all about. That's what we're going to lose in the last days. Matthew tells us, render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and unto God the things that are God's. And Luke says, and this is Jesus talking here, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and the recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised. Do you feel like you're bruised in the political system all the time? It doesn't matter what side you're on. You are bruised. And we have to come out of her, he says. Come out of her. They are bruising you. We're to be bruising them. Bruising the serpent's head, are we not? Or actually crushing the head, and he bruises our heel. Let me restate that. If the Son therefore shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed. Now there's a lot of talk about separation of church and state, or not, to have that. And we see two tables here. One is your relationship with your God, and the other is your relationship with man, your neighbor. And no state and no church is allowed, per God, to change those. They can't change those. They think they can change it, and they are changing it, but they're not really changing it where it matters, and that's in heaven. And Daniel tells us, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. Times and laws. And Jesus says, if you love me, keep my commandments. Revelation 13 tells us, and he causeth all, both great and small, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Romans says, so then, every one of us shall give account of himself to God. So neither one of these verses says any of that that's written in blue. Democrat, Republican, Baptist, Catholic, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't distinguish. All will be forced to make a decision one way or the other, for or not for. And all of us are going to have to stand before the Father. With whom the kings of the earth, those are the earthly governments, have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. And the woman which thou sawest is the great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And it goes on to say in Revelation 18, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, that's the Holy Spirit power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And look at this, Babylon the Great is fallen. 2 times it says that. They've become the inhabitants of devils, the hold of every foul spirit, the cage of every unclean and hateful bird, and who all nations. That's our United States. When Jeff and I came to this realization, it hurt. We really were hurt. Our feelings were hurt. I can't even tell you if it's my feelings or not. I still don't have words. It really just hurt us whenever we realized that our beloved United States of America, who we served and lived and born, and we're patriots, and we're proud, and we hang our flag. Even now, it just makes me want to cry that our United States is going to fall. But we're going to be the one who falls the hardest because we're the most powerful. And I don't know if you've ever really pondered over that, but it might hurt when it finally hits. It might hurt you. Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sin, and that ye receive not of her plagues. In Bible prophecy, her is a church. Her is a church. Kings are your earthly governments. And I'm going to skip these conclusion slides after each section just for the sake of time. But there is a false plan of salvation. There is a false plan of salvation. Salvation for this country is what you're going to hear. And your salvation and the country's salvation is actually linked. I'll tell you who's in the discussion, the after lunch discussion, we're going to go more into that. So the initial question is, what is the Heritage Foundation? What is the Heritage Foundation? Well, they were founded in 1973. It is a conservative think tank, and they have different locations across the country, but their headquarters is in D.C. These were the three, Paul, Edwin, and Joseph Coors, yes, the brewing company. Those were the founders of the Heritage Foundation. 2 Catholics and 1 evangelical, or I don't remember what his background fully was. And so the current president since 2021 is Kevin Roberts. He is also a Roman Catholic, and he receives daily and weekly Opus Dei teachings. We'll look into that in a moment. And Ezekiel 8:5, this is just a hint to kind of throw you some breadcrumbs to go and look at the first series in 2024. But I talk a lot about the King of the North, right? I talk in depth about the King of the North. And Ezekiel 8:5 says, Then said he unto me, the Son of Man, lift up thine eyes now, the way toward the north. Remember the king of the north? King of the north, king of the south. Ezekiel was told to look to the north. So I lifted up my eyes the way toward the north, and behold, northward at the gate of the altar, this image of jealousy is in the enter. And he said unto me, go in and beheld the wicked abominations that they do there. Kevin Roberts is the architect. Actually, Dan, forget his name, is the architect of Project 2025. Have y'all ever, who has not heard of Project 2025? Good, all of you have. Who's read all of it? Good. I'm a studier, so I don't read all the way through. I get to a chapter and I just study. So I can't tell you if I actually read all of it. I don't think I have. But I've read a lot of it. Most of it. So here we are told from the Guardian in 2024 that he has Opus Dei ties. He has weekly Mass for formation. Spiritual formation is, that was practiced from Ignatius of Loyola back in the Dark Ages. So that came through the Catholic Church, and then it came into the Protestant churches. So that's what he practices. And this article says, our concern is that basically Roberts has failed to persuade the American people of the agenda, so they're using it by force. So now they're using the power. That's what you're going to see in the book of Revelation. Power of the executive branch to impose personal religious views, binding law on other Americans. So that's the concern. And that's why I'm here. I'm speaking up because I have the same concern. I'm not concerned about a person's individual practices because they have religious freedom. I'm concerned if you want to force those on me. Do you have the same concern?
Yes.
Okay. Opus Dei is works-based. It means work of God. And so they think that they can have a pure heart. They can become saved if you have daily works. So this is a works-based system. And it's interesting that it's Opus Dei he gets teachings from, because the Department of Labor, the working department, I'm going to point out what they want to push per Project 2025. So for Opus Dei to be involved is actually not surprising. So they are in good standing with the Catholic Church. And this is, they want to implement all of this stuff. So they're been accused of secrecy, cult-like, and political ambitions. There's a sense of humor right here, you can see. But anyways, I'm not sure if that's the actual flight they took, but they did take a flight together, Kevin Roberts and President Trump. And this was several years back. They do know each other. They have talked about this, and I'll show you. This is a little bit, you can see hopefully. Basically, this is what Trump said. He said they're going to lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do. Now there's USA Today, the fact check, and they fact checked it and said, Project 2025 does not belong to Trump. Technically, that is correct. Technically, because it belongs to the Heritage Foundation. So on a technicality, that is true. But since they've written that, there's a lot of people that support it. There's a lot of ministries that have come on board with that. April of this year, that was actually for 2024. So April of this year, Kevin Roberts said, I personally have talked to President Trump about Project 2025, and he made sure that all the candidates, before they dropped out, all the candidates actually had their briefing. Why is this important? Because it would not have mattered which conservative candidate got in. It would not have mattered. They are a party, not a person. Kevin Roberts also is pretty chummy with Vice President Vance. Matter of fact, Vance wrote the foreword of Kevin Roberts' book. I don't know if y'all knew that. Dawn's Early Light, Taking Back Washington. And they will. They are. To save America. There's a salvation plan. Plan of salvation for our country. Daniel chapter 11 says that this, I see smoke right there. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Sorry about that. So Daniel chapter 11 says that, well, the nation is going to fall. All the nations are going to fall. So can they beat prophecy? Are they going to win against God? God says that it's going to fall. God says it's going to fall. Oh, by the way, they actually were supposed to release it on September 24, but it was postponed until after the election because if you remember, July and August of last year is when the Democrats were pinning Project 2025 connection onto President Trump, so they postponed it until after the election. So some of the people, a lot of the people that actually wrote Project 2025 are in his administration. The problem also is there's a lot of firing. To fit those people in, you've got to fire some people. So I'm going to let you listen to Kevin Roberts. He was invited to the World Economic Forum. The significance is this. The World Economic Forum is the left. Left-minded people. They invited him. So they're sitting at the same table, which is actually fulfillment of prophecy in Daniel, the book of Daniel, that the enemies sit at the same table. They're all going to join together soon. Let's listen to what he has to say.
The kind of person who will come into the next conservative administration is going to be governed by one principle, and that is destroying the grasp that political elites and unelected technocrats have over the average person. That the agenda that every single member of the administration needs to have is to compile a list of everything that's ever been proposed at the World Economic Forum and object all of them wholesale. Anyone not prepared to do that and take away this power of the unelected bureaucrats and give it back to the American people is unprepared to be part of the next conservative administration. What's best for the American citizen. The much bigger threat is the Chinese Communist Party. And not.
So they're going to blame the Chinese Communist Party. That is a threat to them. He's right. But let's not think on the human level. Let's look at the spirituality, the principalities of darkness. Ephesians 6, I haven't memorized that yet. My friend up here just was the one who brought that to our attention. I'm like, that needs to be our 2025 verse. Schedule F. Schedule F. In the first Trump administration, he created a civil service job position system, Schedule F. Now I'm going to look at the difference between Schedule F and the regular way they normally hire us. And so he changed it. Now it's called Schedule Policy Career. That sounds so nice. You can make a career. Actually, it's completely opposite because they're going to be able to fire them easier. So Schedule F is to allow easier firings. And for them to call it a career is actually opposite. In the first part, the first series, I actually talk about how they redefine things. The King of the North, King of the South, all redefine terms. I'll show you how. So this is from the White House, reforming the federal hiring process and restoring merit to government services. So it sounds like we're going back to something good, right? We're restoring the merit. Actually, they're moving away from merit. I'll show you how. This is the merit system right here. So this is how they hired me. This is how they hired Jeff. And if you're a veteran or a spouse of a veteran, you get 10 points. So I get 10 points. If Jimmy, if you come over here, you're not military, and we're going after the same job, I get 10 points. Okay? Education, whoever has the highest education gets the highest points. Experience, if your skill set is what they want, and your letters of recommendation. So all of those are point based. That's merit, right? And the higher the merit, the more you're supposed to be eligible. And so this is not ageism, racism, or sexism. Now, this is what Schedule F is. This is what we normally do. Here's Schedule F. F, you can remember the word flexible. Now, that doesn't mean flexible. F is not for flexible. F doesn't mean anything. It's just a letter. It doesn't mean a word, okay? So they just put F. And so basically, this is politically based. So if you are a policy maker, they're going to want to hire you because they want you to make their policies. If you're conservative, liberal, right? If you are in an advisory role, you're Schedule F. If you're a political appointee, you're Schedule F. A political influencer, political alliance. So if you are allied with them, now they're firing people. They're putting some people in these positions so they can fire them and replace them. And now you have a new architect, a new structure. Now you've got the executive branch in the center. The three branches of government, executive, judicial, legislative, they were separate. Now you've got the executive with all of this administrative state branching out. He's got power in all the other branches. Are you following? Okay, so they are actually restructuring government right now before our eyes. This is also a marketing strategy, influencer marketing. Influencer marketing. You see some faces that's been very influential, right, in different sects of the news and business. All right, let's look at Project 2025. I've got some other videos here too. This is by the Baptist News Global. Now, Heritage Foundation, Reagan's favorite think tank, reborn for Trump 2.0. When did they write that? Look at this. January 2024. There were still other candidates in the race, and yet they called it Trump 2.0. Again, it would not have mattered if Trump was the president or not. It wouldn't have mattered. They were going to institutionalize Trumpism. Again, the significance is Trump was not the only candidate when they wrote this. This is, they're talking about Reagan here. So this article talks about Roberts wants to help Trump pursue unitary executive theory. He says wholesale. You heard him say the word wholesale at the World Economic Forum? He says wholesale. You're going to hear him say that word here and there when you listen to him, because he just wants to wipe out the king of the South. They are at odds. They are at war with each other. I'm going to let you hear some audio here soon from a book, audio book. They want to fire 50,000 or more federal employees and replace them with rock-solid conservatives. Now, here's how I look at this. These types of statements here, if I can put in another word, such as rock-solid women, the men's ears should perk up. Rock solid men. Oh, the women's ears should perk up. This is exclusive, not inclusive. So this is how I look at the statements. This is how I read the news, right? Rock solid conservative sounds good when you are a conservative. Rock solid Catholics, rock solid Baptist. You see the problem with this? Okay. I hope the point is made. So, let's break this down. The Department of Defense. In Project 2025, I'm watching several, I should have pointed them out. There were 5 agencies on that little spreadsheet I had. Department of Defense, Department of Labor, Department of Justice, Department of Health and Human Services, and the Department of Treasury. Those are the 5 I'm watching, because there are going to be some end time action happening. So this is Pete Hegseth. He is now over the DOD. He's written several books. Have you ever read any of his books? Okay. I'm going to let him speak. Here we go.
Chapter 1, Our American Crusade. Take a moment to consider
Can you hear it back there?
in the miracle of the 2016 election.
All right, we'll start all
The
over.
history
Can you turn it up on yours? Or?
Oh, let's try.
made as sons and daughters of freedom.
Nope, it's high, honey. When you hear him, you're going to hear some black and white statements. Sorry for my little son here. It's family ministry. You're going to hear some black and white statements, exclusive statements. Remember, he's on the King of the North side. So here we go.
Chapter 1, Our American Crusade. Take a moment to consider your part in the miracle of the 2016 election. The history we made as sons and daughters of freedom. For the left, that humiliating defeat strengthened their resolve to achieve their ultimate goal, erasing America's soul, culture, and institutions. We are the ones standing in their way and have been targeted for annihilation. We the people must understand this moment. You feel it, I feel it, we all feel it. The other side, the left, is not our friend. We are not esteemed colleagues, nor mere political opponents. We are foes. Either we win or they win. We agree on nothing else. The United States has the top economy and military in the world, but our cultural and educational institutions, America's soul, have succumbed to leftist rot. Military might and worldly wealth alone are not enough to preserve our founding principles, nor are once-in-a-generation electoral miracles, such as the 2016 election. Our future existence as sons and daughters of freedom requires the satisfaction of a single paramount objective: the categorical defeat of the left. America cannot and will not survive otherwise. This time in our history calls for an American crusade. Yes, a holy war for the righteous cause of human freedom. 1,000 years ago, after years of ceding land to conquering Muslim hordes, the Pope ordered military action to save Europe. Deus vult, God wills it, was the rallying cry of Christian knights as they marched to Jerusalem. 250 years ago, as King George III exercised more power over colonists in North America, they rebelled. Give me liberty or give me death, they exclaimed. America was born and then battle-tested. The most important rallying cry of our era, "Make America Great Again," catalyzed a political miracle of similar proportion and consequence, so shocking that it still confounds those who proclaimed it. Like Crusaders and Patriots past, Donald Trump's Red Hat Rebellion demonstrates that unapologetically going on offense is the only tenable strategy for the defense of our republic.
Okay. There's a lot that can be dissected out of that. That was just chapter 1. I'm like, okay, I got my information. I don't need to read anymore. Serious. I did not read anymore. Oh, mercy, mercy. So the King of the North, King of the South, he's right. He is right. The king of the south wants to annihilate the king of the north. And the king of the north wants to annihilate the king of the south. He is right. And when you are looking at the flesh, when you're looking at this world, you can see he's right. They have no other way. But do you? We have God. We have God. And it's not God on our side, it's us on his side. Okay, we don't lead anything. We follow. So when you see them talking, we need to come out of that. This is their golden age, not yours. Our golden age is in the future. We have no golden age on this planet anymore. God's people do not.
Chapter 1.
This is another book he wrote. He talks about meritocracy. Meritocracy is a Latin and Greek word put together. And basically, it's looking at individual people and their ability and talent. Doesn't that sound like Opus Dei? How good are you at your work, at your craft? This is Opus Dei language as well. I don't know if Pete Hegseth is involved in that, but I'm telling you, this is the same spirit. He says, unlike issues of education or taxes or crime, this problem does not have a zip code solution. We cannot move away from it. We cannot avoid it. We only have one Pentagon. Either we take it back or surrender it altogether. This is war. This is war. They are at war with each other. And look, we know from the book of Revelation, those that keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ is the real target. So all these strategies here is going to be pointed at you. This is why the war is up here. We need to be right with God. We need to stop what we're doing. Come out of her, my people, he says, and be free from this world. So in July and August 2024, you heard the big scandal. Oh, Trump is part of Project 2025. So you don't hear the word Project 2025 anymore. You hear the word mandate. And I'll tell you where they got it in a minute. Here's 4 headlines. Trump claims a massive mandate, but President often overread their victories. Trump does not have a mandate. Does Trump really have a mandate? Trump declares unprecedented mandate. There's more. Mandate, mandate, mandate. Where do they get it? Look at that. What? It is there. Project 2025's official name is Mandate for Leadership, the Conservative Promise. In the first series in 2024, what I talked about was the word promise. And I broke that down because in Revelation, you're going to hear of a second beast. A second beast who comes with promises. Remember the false prophet? What does a prophet do? They make promises. I want to say also, I talked to my daughter. I won't say where she's stationed, but last month the base commander called them in, and it was a base-wide meeting. And she said, "Mom, I'm telling you this, and you can do whatever you want with it." I said, "Okay, I will. I'll let them know." And so I'm telling you, they had a base-wide. She's in the Navy. They had a base-wide meeting, and they do the things that we're told they need to get done. They do it anyways, like keep their passports up to date, keep their uniforms pressed, get all their paperwork in order. They do this anyways. That wasn't significant to be told to do this, to be reminded. What was significant is to have a base-wide meeting with the base commander telling you to do the normal stuff. And she said that it was almost, everybody knew she was not saying a lot, but she was saying it without saying it. Basically to be war ready. War ready. Why is this important? Because she is the reserves. She's not even enlisted. Now she's the reserves, and the reserves are being told this too? What is their plan? What we know is that there were 4 pillars of Project 2024. The first 3 are public, done. The 4th one is not published. We don't know what is in that. That was their plan of action, their playbook. It's called the playbook. And they didn't publish it. They won't publish it. There was a senator, I think a congressman or some sort of military, government-based person. I don't remember the person's name. But there were several that asked for Project 2025 or the Heritage Foundation to actually release that and to be brought before Congress and talk about it. They didn't even do it. And they didn't get in trouble for denying. I mean, if you got subpoenaed, wouldn't you get in trouble if you didn't show up? I would. In December, this was after the election. In December, the numbers were high, and in January as well. This is another book he wrote, Modern Warriors, and this is his first book. Now, you're going to see citizen-led roadmap, good citizens, equality of opportunity. No, it's not. They got Schedule F. That's not equality. It's not merit-based. Good patriot. Those should stand out to you. Who are you loyal to? Are you going to be loyal to your government? This is why it hurt me and Jeff whenever we realized, wow, we've got to forfeit. We had to come out of her, my people. We had to come out of her. This is him with Mahmoud Khalif Ahmad. This is Samara, the mayor of Samara in 2005, and I was looking into, well, what's significant about that? Do you recognize that? What does that look like? Absolutely. You know what else it looks like? You got it. This is their golden age. This is not your golden age. Your golden age is in the future. This is their golden age. Come out of her, my people. On page 94 of Project 2025, they've got this thing called burden sharing. Burden sharing. You see that number 1? This is a defense strategy. Basically, it goes like this. Remember, we're talking about the Department of Defense. Pete Hegseth is over it. Burden sharing goes like this. We, the United States, the last superpower, the most powerful military on the planet, and we will remain the most powerful military on the planet. That would get to your head. I'm so glad God heard our feelings. Come out of her, my people. So this is where the United States will, see this? Look at this. Nuclear. We're going to be the nuclear deterrent of the world. And the European nations they're to be focused on the conventional forces. So you focus on the conventional war, we, the United States, will focus on the nuclear deterrence. You see that strategy? So what you're gonna hear in the news when this starts to take place is they're going to start pulling some troops out of the European Union and bringing them home. That sounds good. But don't mistake what strategy they're doing. So there's good. There is good mingled into this. This is called burden sharing. Well, this is prophesied. In Revelation 13, it says, and this is the United States of America. I can give you a Bible study to prove this if you're not sure. He, the United States of America, exercises all the power of the first beast before him and causes The earth, that's your other governments. And they that dwell therein to worship the first beast. Who's going to cause them to worship the first beast? Whose deadly wound, 1798, was healed. This is actually now debatable, 1929. It actually could be earlier, but I'm not going there today. And he doeth great wonders, and he maketh fire come down from heaven. I'm not sure how that's going to take place. On earth in the sight of man, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast. Let's pause there. What is the image of the beast? Does anyone know? You could yell it out. What is an image to the beast? The image, not the mark, the image. What is it?
Reflection.
A reflection. Okay, elaborate.
A lookalike.
A lookalike. Okay. Yes, union of church and state. The image of the beast is the union of church and state. And if this second beast, who we're going to call for today the United States, if this second beast of Revelation is telling other people to make an image of the beast, what would have they have already had to do? Make an image also. Image to who? Someone before them. The first. That may sound complex. Email me. We'll talk. All right. Resolve global conflicts. Get used to that. That's where we're headed. They also talk about the flood zone. You see that first? Allies say the foreign policy version of flood the zone is working. We're going to talk about what flooding the zone is. Peace to prosperity. Peace and safety. Then what happens? Sudden destruction happens. This is January 20, 2025. Trump said, my proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. Not in the books of heaven. Not in the books of heaven. Now, I'm going to tell you, I was a staunch Republican. I'm not ashamed to say. I was a Republican. Registered voter. Even did the Tea Parties. Got audited. I got an Obama audit. Do you remember that? Remember that made the headline? Those were real. He said they didn't audit the Tea Partiers, but they really did. I was audited. That actually happened. This yellow tie here. The yellow tie in a business is reserved for only a certain person. That's your CEO. So all the people know in business, in corporate world, you do not wear a yellow tie unless you are one of the CEOs. Just as a letting you know. That's the power tie. Department of Labor, one of the departments I'm watching. In 1961, there was a Supreme Court ruling, and they said, you know what, you can make some blue laws as long as they are not promoting or advancing faith, your religion. So only if it was health, safety, and welfare of the public can you put a blue law in. Well, guess what? Now everything falls into that category. Redefining things. The King of the North and the King of the South both redefine things. Now I want to show you. This is verbatim. I just made it highlighted and underlined it and colored it. But this is, I just copied and pasted. Sabbath rest. This is from the Department of Labor. God ordained the Sabbath as a day of rest, and until very recently, the Judeo-Christian tradition sought to honor the mandate by moral and legal regulation. of work on that day. Moreover, a shared day off makes it possible for families and communities to enjoy time off together rather than as atomized individuals, and provides a healthier cadence of life for everyone. Unfortunately, that communal day of rest has eroded under the pressures of consumerism and secularism, especially for low-income workers. They've always got to tie it into a guilt trip. This is marketing. Marketing with your emotions, okay? Because if you go against this, you are bad. You're not a good citizen. You're not a good patriot, and you hate the low-income workers. That's what they're saying. This goes on to say that they need to change. I'm going to read this because I want you to see the word encourage. Now, we know what encourage means. It means force. They are going to redefine it. Congress should encourage communal rest by amending the Fair Labor Standards Act to require that workers be paid time and a half for hours worked on the Sabbath. Now, they say that the Sabbath is going to default to Sunday. You see the red letters there? That's the day it defaults to. Now, if there is a default, then that means there's going to be an automatic trigger of some sort. I'm not sure what the playbook has. Remember, the playbook is not published. The playbook is not published. I don't know how they're going to do this. I can imagine that we'll probably have to register our companies through the Department of Labor. And you, as the owner, will have to say you either are going to do Sunday as the default, or your company might actually just get the default. And you might have to fill out paperwork to say if you want to keep the default for your employees, or if you want another Sabbath. And they said that if you have a sincere religious observance of Sabbath, say from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, then you can have that one. But it has to be sincere. Who's going to define that? Who's going to define that? Houses of worship, employers that are required to operate around the clock are exempt. Now, I put the alternative view in blue and red because there's two separate alternatives. So what you read was the ideal. That's what they want. But there's two alternatives. You could go with the blue conservatives or the red conservatives. Now, the blue conservatives want everything to be more expensive. You see that third line? Expensive for employers and consumers. What is that going to do? That's going to be a deterrent. So if you want to go shop on Sunday, and it costs more on Sunday, you think you're going to go buy something on Sunday? You're going to save your money, and you're going to go on a different day. It's a deterrent. Well, the red conservatives, they think the government's role is to basically let the people be free of all of this stress. And so the proper role of government is to enable individuals to practice their religion and to reduce the barriers. So I don't go into it in this presentation, but I do go into it in 2024, and that is, well, they're going to get the labor unions involved to help with that. So I'm going to show you this. This is a few minutes.
Could a national Sunday law echo a thunderous blow to the very foundation of the U.S. Constitution? As we delve into this thought-provoking inquiry, we must brace ourselves for the potential ramifications of such a legislation. Imagine a law that mandates every citizen to observe Sunday as a day of rest, a day to step back from the industrial churn and reduce our carbon footprint. It's a concept that intertwines environmental protection with religious observance. But what does this mean for the land of the free? Firstly, it's crucial to remember that the U.S. Constitution enshrines in its First Amendment the freedom of religion. This means every American has the right to practice or not to practice any religion they choose. A national Sunday law, however, could infringe upon this right by imposing a religious observance on all citizens, regardless of their personal beliefs. Secondly, let's contemplate the economic implications. With one day less of business operations each week, the U.S. economy could experience a significant contraction. Some estimates suggest that GDP could shrink by up to 2% per annum. This could lead to job losses, decreased consumer spending, and potentially a recession. Moreover, the environmental benefits of a national Sunday law are not a given. While it's accurate that a decrease in industrial activity may lead to a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, the offset could be an uptick in domestic energy consumption as individuals opt to remain indoors. Therefore, the overall effect on climate change could result in a net zero effect, failing to deliver the anticipated impact. In essence, a national Sunday law could pose a constitutional conundrum, potentially infringing upon religious freedoms, with uncertain environmental benefits and potentially devastating economic consequences. It's a complex issue that warrants careful consideration and robust debate. The prospect of a national Sunday law has always been a contentious one. The idea seems to directly contradict the Constitution's principles, leading to intense debates. One such debate took place in 1888. Alonzo T. Jones and Senator M.W. Blair held a memorable discourse on the topic. Senator H.W. Blair, who was the chairman of the Senate Committee on Education and Labor at that time, provided a stage for supporters of the Sunday law to express their viewpoints. In the midst of this, Alonzo Jones presented an argument influenced by the teachings of Jesus. His words struck a chord with the nation's leaders. He asserted that while Jesus taught his followers to pay their taxes to Caesar, he was clear that no government has the authority to set a specific day of worship. According to Jones, worship is a singular domain belonging to God, maintained through a relationship that exists solely between God and an individual, based on the individual's consciousness. Furthermore, he emphasized that God does not force himself upon anyone, and thus the government should not try to enforce God's worship on its citizens. To underscore the modern relevance of Jones's argument, two Bible verses come to mind. The first, John 6:15, reads, Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, withdrew again to a mountain by himself. The second, James 4:17, states, if anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is sin for them. These verses underline the principle that Jesus backed away from forceful attempts to be pushed into a governmental role. Therefore, people, especially Christians, need to understand this. The implications of this understanding extend beyond the realm of worship. In an era defined by economic challenges and heightened environmental consciousness, the introduction of a national Sunday law could have unintended consequences. With industries and businesses closing on Sundays, there could be a significant economic impact, affecting both the workforce and the wider economy. Moreover, the potential reduction in industrial emissions and domestic energy consumption, while initially seen as a positive, could also lead to unforeseen issues. As we consider these ramifications, it is crucial to remember that our strength as a nation is not merely in our laws, but in the core principles that form the bedrock of these laws.
Principles. This is one of the verses, John 6:15. I want you to hold on to this. When Jesus therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force, what did he do? To make him king, he departed. He departed. If you want to force Jesus into something, can you hear me back there? If you want to force Jesus into some government position, he's going to leave. My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered. Is this past or future? It's past. So you can't use this to say, well, we are his people, we're fighting for him now. I hope that makes sense. But now, is my kingdom not from hence. Pilate therefore said unto him, Art thou a king then? Jesus answered, Thou sayest that I am a king. To this end was I born, and for this cause came I unto the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Every one that is of the truth heareth my voice. Don't force him into this government down here or any other government on this earth. He has his own kingdom. We are to be ambassadors for that kingdom. This golden age is not ours. It is theirs. And the sad thing is, that's all they're going to get. We should pity them, not join with them. Lead them, not follow them. So we've been hearing a lot in the news in Utah. Governor Cox signs a Utah law letting cake shops stay closed on Sunday without penalty. Now what you're going to see happening in the States is what I call a bird shot. Y'all know the difference between a bird shot and a buckshot. Okay, a buckshot, that's a big bullet. It's one shot's going to take that deer out. I don't hunt. I used to hunt when I was a teenager, but not now. A bird shot is just a bunch of pellets. It's just going to scatter. And it doesn't go long distance. It doesn't go very far. What you're seeing is bird shots. Boop, and it's just going to die. Another state, boop, is going to die out over here. Okay, that's what you're seeing. And if one takes, then their movement goes even faster. Yay for them. You understand what I'm trying to say? Okay, so there might be one that actually sticks in this bird shot. Let me make sure this is low so I don't scare you. Sorry about that earlier. All right, this is the Nothing Bundt cake.
Morrison, spending Sundays with her kids means a whole lot.
We were actually really sad when we found out that we had to open our doors on Sundays.
Alyssa, who is a Nothing But Cakes franchise co-owner, is breathing easily after Governor Cox signed a new bill on Monday.
To be able to have a state that supported us and these leaders that helped push this through to help us have our day of rest, our religious freedom, was huge for us.
The bill, also known as the Franchisee Protection Act, bans corporations from forcing shops to open on Sundays as part of any new contracts between the franchisee and franchisor. Father and daughter Kelly Clayton and Kelsey Hunt have pushed back on Nothing But Cake Sunday mandate since February 2nd, when the mandate officially went live.
It's been quite the roller coaster ride, but the fact that it has happened is nothing short of, at least to us, and the rest of our family, and really the community, a miracle.
Tim Ryan, Chief Financial Officer of the franchise Bout Time Pub and Grub, has a different opinion.
It doesn't need to be a law. There are many, many more franchisee opportunities available, and potentially you'll have companies that don't want to do business in Utah, which impacts all the rest of us when it comes to collection of sales tax, withholding taxes, providing jobs, wages, labor.
In Salt Lake City, Maya Constantino, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The significance is if you're doing business in Utah, let's say you're a Taco Bell, you're a McDonald's, you're a franchise. If you work in corporate, let's say your corporate is in St. Louis, Missouri, Little Rock, Arkansas. Do you have business in Utah yet? Okay. They are a franchise all over the nation. So, did you know about this law? You better get to know about the law. So when you are a franchise, you have to, there's risk that if that takes place for your company in Utah, Well, your company might have some pushback by the employees from other states. Some internal pressures. And then what Project 2025 says, labor unions could be utilized to help between the employee and the employers talk. We get into some dangerous grounds where the negotiation, the free exercise of the employers get robbed from the employers. They can't manage their companies like they intended. Oh, Blue Bonnet, this is Texas. Bible-based teaching does not belong in the public schools. DEI is being erased. This is the king of the South being erased by the king of the North. Just forget about the flesh. Forget about the flesh. This is spiritual things. U.S. judge blocks Louisiana from requiring 10 commandments in their classrooms. This is the birdshot. House bill. Bring back the blue laws. North Dakota. We watched that one pretty closely. I'm going to let you hear from them. The recording. Here we go. This is from North Dakota.
Diana, if you could read House Bill 1150, please.
A bill relating to Sunday closing laws and retail agreements and to provide a penalty.
Penalty.
Welcome, Representative Heilman.
Chairman Worry, members of the committee, it's good to see you all again. Committee members, my name for the record is Matt Heilman. I'm a state representative from North Dakota's 7th Legislative District in Bismarck. I come before you today to testify in favor of House Bill 1150. This legislation is to undo the repeal from House Bill 1097 from the 2019 legislative session. And many have been asking me why the bill language is the way that it is. And it's, they say it's a bit odd, but that was what was existing in state law prior to the repeal in 2019. And throughout the bill, it explicitly lays out who is restricted and who is not. And another good question I've been getting a lot is what prompted me to bring this bill forward. Usually you wouldn't see something like this coming back to a legislature, but what prompted me to bring this legislation was an article by Father Dominic Balk at the University of Mary, and he wrote an article in 2019 that I read earlier sometime last year, so this has been on my mind now for a while, but he just stressed how critical it is to have blue laws in general. And there's numerous benefits to having blue laws, and I'll address some of the criticisms as well. The first benefit to blue laws is rest and recovery. Employees are working many long, exhausting hours throughout the week. Employees having additional time to rest and improve their mental health, which is a big problem in 2025, and their overall productivity. I have experienced this before as a worker, and I know many others have as well. And I firmly believe that our purpose in life really goes beyond working and not knowing rest, which happens to a lot of retail workers, which I experienced firsthand as well, and many of my friends growing up. The second benefit is that it incentivizes community and family time. People have more time set aside to engage with their family members and engage in different community activities going on. I think we live in a culture that's so hyper-focused on capitalism, material wealth, and looking at things through purely an economic lens. And there are more important matters in life than just a balance sheet. And
Diana?
Did you catch all that? But he said a lot. He said more too. New Jersey, blue laws. Blue laws, deeply concerning. We usually know blue laws for the alcohol sale. That's one of the most popular ones. Look at Arkansas. The red means there's complete restriction on Sundays and Christmas. That's pretty, I didn't realize how strict Arkansas was. Matter of fact, in the 1800s, when 1888 was here and all that, and the blue laws were coming about, Arkansas was the strictest on its blue laws. In World War II, 2 of the 3 camps for the Japanese citizens were in Arkansas. 2 of the 3 camps of the whole nation, 2 were here in this, in this state. watchdogs are being fired. Now, watchdogs are independent. They're independent. But now, there's 17 that's been fired. Those are where the whistleblowers could have gone. They could go and say, hey, there's a lot of corruption over in this Department of Labor. Hey, over in the Department of Justice, there's a lot of corruption. I'm whistleblowing. Could you investigate? No internal investigations, or limited. I'm gonna, remember the 1888? I keep bringing up 1800s. 1888, something happened. I'm gonna let you hear this. This is the 1888, the Blair Bills. Who's heard of the Blair Bills? Okay, good. Here we go.
In May of 1888, Senator Henry Blair of New Hampshire proposed legislation to limit secular activities on Sundays within the jurisdiction of the United States federal government. Senator Blair made it clear that the aim of his bill was to preserve the first day of the week as a day of rest and religious observance. The bill was referred to the Senate Committee on Education and Labor, where Blair was chairman. Among those who raised objections to the proposed legislation was Alonzo T. Jones.
Sir, you may speak of the power of a majority in social and civil matters, but there is no majority, however large, that can invade the territory of a man's religion. Not in this land, not under our Constitution.
Mr. Jones, you fail to recognize the right, or more importantly, the responsibility of the state to protect the welfare of the people as a whole.
Senator, it seems that you fail to recognize the clear distinction between man's responsibility to the state and his duty toward God. The first, he must render under the force of law. The second, duty to God, must be carried out only under the force of love, and that freely, voluntarily. No law can command love.
But the law of the state must protect the people to carry out their duty to God. Our Sunday law is written to ensure the preservation of the Lord's Day for the benefit of the people.
An admirable goal, Senator Blair, but completely unnecessary. Our Constitution already recognizes the rights of the people with respect to their religion. Your Sunday law would add nothing to our fundamental freedoms. It would rather add restrictions.
I'm afraid, sir, that you are blind to the realities of our age. If men owe a duty to God and do not willingly perform it, they become a corrupting influence in society.
This proposed Sunday law would have a corrupting influence by introducing force and coercion into its observance.
On the contrary, the intended effect is to enhance the Sabbath. If men do not consent to honor the Lord's Day, if their actions on that day are unrestrained by civil law, then they trample on the very rights of those who would honor and observe the day as holy unto the Lord.
With all due respect, Senator, can you not see that your Sunday bill proposes to trample on the rights of the religious minorities? Do you really want to revert to those dark ages where church and state united to force men to violate their conscience and conform to an officially established religion?
Now that is an unworthy comparison, sir. Our Sunday laws for the ultimate benefit of the whole society. Is it not a legitimate function of the state to legislate on behalf of the common good?
The common good which you value so highly is not served by restricting the rights of one man's conscience in order to enlarge the rights of another. It is best served by the freedoms upon which this republic was established. State-sponsored religious coercion defies the clear intent of the founding fathers.
But this law provides an exemption for those who wish to worship on another day. Jews, Seventh-day Baptists, your Seventh-day Adventists, for example, who observe Saturday as the Sabbath. So where's the problem?
The problem is...
Why, just this morning, and Mrs. Baden of the Women's Christian Temperance Union addressed this committee in support of such an exemption. She has conferred with representatives of 9 different groups who observe Saturday rather than Sunday, and you know how many of those approved the exemption? All of them. Every single one.
Senator, I have great respect for the temperance principles promoted by Mrs. Bacon's organization, but she does not speak for my denomination on the question of exemptions.
Come now, Professor Jones, are you about to object to exemptions that would certainly benefit your group and several others?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, you do object. An exemption clause would not change the proposed law so as to modify our opposition. Here is the principle, Senator. If the law were just and perfect, an exemption would not be necessary. Another thing, an exemption clause is nothing other than a toleration clause in disguise. Toleration is not liberty. It is merely a form of condescension, the majority putting up with the opinions and convictions of the minority. Our Constitution guarantees not tolerance, but rights, and we claim those rights as American citizens.
Mr. Jones, without yielding the point, let me move to another question. How would you react if we would rewrite this bill as a Saturday law, with Saturday as the Sabbath, not Sunday at all? I suppose you would take a very different position.
To the contrary, Senator, all laws that attempt to force the conscience are manifestly unchristian and unconstitutional by their very nature. Therefore, Senator, we are against every Sunday law that has ever been made since the first one enacted by Constantine to the one you are proposing now. And if you changed it from a Sunday law to a Saturday law, we would oppose it just as firmly.
That's right. Christianity is based on principles, not policy. There is a stark difference between principle and policy. Policy can be changed. Policy is not even broad enough. But if you live by principle, that covers every bit of our lives. Every nook and cranny of your life, if you live by principle. There was a man who asked his wife, well, who can I talk to outside of the male sex? Well, that's policy. Who is just a checklist. Policy brings checklists. How many laws do we need? I mean, how many laws do we have on the books? We have so many laws because people don't live by principle. Give me a checklist. I'll live by that. Oh, they find loopholes. They find loopholes. And I want to say that only someone that is religious will bring to the floor a religious bill. Only someone who is religious can bring a religious bill.
In May of
Christian nationalism, I'm going to talk more about this during the discussion this afternoon. Christian nationalists call on government to seize wicked apostate churches. This is not a law, but the headline is grasping. So I went and listened to what was said, actually. It was a proposal, but it got an amen. It got two. There were only three. One was proposing and two said amen. So 100% right there on that panel. And so they said, we need to take these churches that have, they even talked about women. If you've got women in your ministry, I'm up here speaking, that you would be part of their target. When you look at Matthew 24, you're going to see this list that occurs in different places. You're going to see deceptive men coming in the name of Christ, trying to deceive you, the church. You're going to hear wars and rumors of wars. This includes false flags. I did a study on that years ago. False flags, yes, being military, you get exposed to some of the things, and you really can't come public with it when you are part of the military. But I've got my own false flags awareness I'm aware of that I don't talk about on camera. But anyways, nation against nation. That's ethnos against ethnos. That's your ethnic wars, your racial riots. That's been happening for 30 plus years, actually since the 60s, really. Well, we can go back to slavery. Famines, pestilence, all of these are in different places, but then These are the beginning of sorrows. After that, guess what? Then they will deceive you or deliver you up to be afflicted. And here to see a headline saying, guess what? We want to take your churches and throw you out. Are we there yet? Department of Treasury, I don't have a very long one. I've got one slide. Why? Because there's so much to say. I'm just going to say it. Announces suspension of enforcement of Corporate Transparency Act against U.S. citizens and domestic reporting companies. Basically, they're saying common sense. So now they're saying, well, we want some common sense. Okay? And they're not going to enforce this. Look at this. Let me get my little highlighter out here. Look at this. They will not, they will not enforce any penalties. I can't speak right now. Associated. But even in the future, it will further not enforce any penalties or fines. So if you don't give up your this balance or whatever they want from your company, right? Your balance charts, your whatever you got to turn in. Depends on what type of company you are, right? You've got international companies that's based in the United States. I don't know all the paperwork, but if you don't turn in your paperwork, you used to get fined. Now they're not even going to fine you. No transparency. Well, if you look at the cabinet, how many people are business owners? This is for the merchant. Listen to that word, merchant. Revelation 18 talks about the merchants of the land. Commodity Futures Trading Commission. I want to talk about this. We're going to talk about merchants. This is why this is significant. The merchants. Lay your treasure not on this world, right? I paraphrase. Because corruption, moth, all of that will destroy your wealth. Right? Don't lay your riches up on this world. On page 737 of Project 2025, they want a commodity-backed money. We used to be on the gold standard. That's a commodity-backed money. Right? We're familiar with that. The gold standard is a commodity-backed money. That sounds good, doesn't it? It is. Commodity-backed. But when you have commodity-backed, they can offer more bailouts. They can control everything more. That's really where we're headed. Control. The free banking, well, this is where things can get out of control a lot, and that's true. I mean, there's pros and cons to both sides. But the commodity-backed, I really want to talk more about that. In Zechariah, we're told, you know what? There was a time when people rebelled God. They went into exile. This is the order. They rebelled God. They went into exile. And then they had an economic fall. Well, that's what's in Revelation 18. People are going to rebel against God. They're not going to go into the promised land. And they're going to have an economic fall. Project 2025 says eliminate full employment. So basically they're saying to the Fed, you know what, you usually do two things. You usually balance the money, right? How much you're going to print, how much you're not going to print, stabilize the economy, that's what they call it. So they usually stabilize the economy, but in stabilizing the economy, they always look at making sure that employers have enough money or cash flow to bring in jobs, give full employment. But they said, no, we don't want you to focus on that anymore. This is important. So not only do they not want to focus on the Fed to focus on making jobs, they want a commodity-backed system. So here we go. So this is just a quick Project 2025 on page 740, page 835. They say commodity-backed money, and they want digital assets to be redefined and now considered part of the commodity. Where are we going? We're going into digital money. Okay?
Yeah, October.
So this is going into digital money. I can't go into the details because one, I don't understand all of them, to be honest with you, and plus there's a lot of covert stuff that they're not even publishing. So we just see the headlines, we discern through the Spirit of God of the Scriptures, right? And this is where on January 23 and March 7, the White House actually fulfills that. So are they following Project 2025? They really are. Department of Justice. All right, Department of Justice, I talked about the Inspector General being fired, right? Inspector General's being fired. This is what they wanted. Well, this is what they're doing. And in Revelation 13, we see the United States give life unto the image. This comes into play. I'm going to scoot on through this. DOJ. Well, the DOJ is ready for Supreme Court to overturn a 90-year-old precedent. This is the Humphrey executor. Basically, 90 years ago. Son, sit down.
You just recorded that online.
I did record that online. I told y'all not to do that.
Edit it out.
Okay, thank you. So basically, this gives power to the president, the executive branch, more power. So when that gets removed, more power for the executive branch to go and penetrate the other branches. And they're not equal. And so Project 2025 says, you know what? We think separation of powers, we understand that, and pushback among the branches is a positive feature. But when the Democrats pushed back against them, they didn't like it. But now they're pushing back, they like it. They redefine things, okay? All right. Here under the DOJ, we know this face. He was charged with hurting his wife and daughter, even breaking teeth. I'm just saying he was charged with that, okay? And he lost his Second Amendment right, the guns, but the judge was fired. The judge that did not give that back was fired. They fired the judge because he did not judge in the way that the administration wanted him to judge. Whirlwind. Have y'all heard that word from the scriptures? Whirlwind. Trump time, Operation Warp Speed in the first administration. Now you're going to see a whirlwind common sense revolution. That's a big mouthful. Headlines. Trump's whirlwind. I'm going to go through this like a whirlwind. Second term. Trump's whirlwind Congress speech infuriated Democrats. Whirlwind clouds. This has got to do with the money. Trump hails his whirlwind. Why are they saying the same thing in headlines? Is it the same spirit? Is this God talking to his people, giving you some key words? Hey, guess what? A whirlwind is here, and it's not finished. Whirlwind tariff. You get a tariff, and you get a tariff. Yes, that's my sense of humor. Trump's whirlwind first month leaves heads spinning. Here's the Bible, what the Bible says about whirlwind. The Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, etc. So when you see whirlwind, you see God show up. This is God. Whirlwind is related to God that we serve. Ezekiel, and I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. A great cloud and a fire unfolding itself in brightness was all about. And out of the midst thereof, as a color of amber, out of the midst of the fire, God showed up. Is there a counterfeit God? Then there's a counterfeit whirlwind. There's a counterfeit whirlwind. We're just feeling the breezes. Did God have a forerunner? impersonate God, the second coming? Who's going to pretend to be Jesus? Satan himself. You think he's got a forerunner? He will. He does. So I'm not saying Trump is the forerunner. What I'm saying is God is giving you clues to wake up, because the fake Jesus is about to show up. Is he going to look beautiful? Yes. Oh, and out of the north. God sits in the north. So when you see the counterfeit earthly king of the north, who sits in the place of God, who thinks he is God, that has all these blasphemous things to say, that thinks to change times and thinks to change laws. This is the false king of the north. So all this king of the north, king of the south battling on this planet, come out of her, my people. This is their golden age, not your golden age. Your golden age is in the future. Now we're looking at Daniel chapter 11, verse 40. The time of the end we think is 1798. So now we know this verse starts in 1798. This is my understanding of history. Shall the king of the south push? Now this is where the French Revolution, General Berthier, under Napoleon's rule, goes in, marches into the Vatican, takes the Pope captive. He dies approximately 18 months later-ish. And they were without a leader. That was the deadly wound we read earlier in Revelation. That's the deadly wound. And because of that, the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind. You see why those headlines are important? Is not the Republican Party the one that has affections to Rome? Are they not the ones being linked with this term whirlwind? Are they not the one that came on the scene like a whirlwind? They are. Pushing back at the king of the south. Satan pretends to be Jesus. If you want to take a picture really quick, these are the scriptures. You can go and read that in. I'll give you a few minutes. But whirlwind. Now, I'm going to skip over the next slides really quick, but just kind of tell you. I broke down this verse in Hebrew. Basically, it looks at war in spite of, you should be afraid, many troops coming. You understand? I'm telling you. And this is about, I think, where we are right here, and this has not happened yet, but I'm not married to that interpretation. And so he shall enter the glorious land. And there's several interpretations of what the glorious land is. Is it the United States? Is it the Seventh-day Adventist? Is it both? And so my proposal is that, well, right now we're seeing on the micro scale the United States doing the image of the beast first, and then they have to do the image of the beast before they can force the mark of the beast. I want to go through this merchants. I think you're going to really get this. So Elon Musk is in the administration, and Verizon was going through and getting they were negotiating a contract. Within days, Elon Musk whisks in like a whirlwind and gets the contracts. Conflict of interest, I think. Conflict of interest. Trump has a meme. He has a meme. The significance is we don't know, because there's not transparency and he doesn't have to turn in all of his paper now. And so we don't know who actually is donating. So what if our president is swayed by someone? Hey, guess what? I just gave you like $50 million in this. I don't know. We don't know. Do you think your spouse should be protected and not go and have dinner with the opposite sex? We should protect our men, right? And our women should be protected. Don't go and eat with the opposite sex at dinner without your spouse. I feel that way with our president. Our president should not open himself to be to give the appearance of evil. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying there's an appearance, and we are warned against that. Everyone's tired and hungry, so I'm going to skip on through. Drill, baby, drill. Basically, the slide before was saying, you know what? There was a lot of money given. Look, there was $1 billion donated from the tycoons of the gas and oil. And then on January 20th, he goes and he names Gulf of America. And what that did is that allowed him to ignore all of the, or avoid all of the Biden executive orders that prevented him to drill. So now if Biden is saying, hey, you can't drill in the Gulf of Mexico, well, they're just going to rename it and redefine it. Remember the redefine? They're going to redefine it. So now there's no executive orders that say that you can't drill in Gulf of America. You see how that played out? Okay, so they're redefining things. So merchants. For all nations have drunken the wine of the wrath of her fornication, the kings of the earth committing fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth waxed rich with the abundance of her delicacies. Just look at these red words. Look at all those commodities. Commodity-based system. Look at that. Slaves and souls of men is on that list. Some of us are going to be in that category. This is what it looks like. Look at that purple and scarlet, and the odors, and that chariot, and the pearls, the oil, the wheat, the marble, the frankincense. Being from Louisiana, they had this king cake for Mardi Gras. Yes, I used to go to Mardi Gras. I have pictures. I didn't put them in there. That was the life of yesteryear. What city is like unto this great city, we're asked. What city is like unto this great city? What city is like unto this great city? Whoever come up with this design for the Hall of the Vatican, I don't know what spirit he is under, but I don't think it's of God. Look at this tongue, and the fangs, and the mouth, and the eyes, and the scales, and the whole world, the prey, the nations, image of a beast, for nations have drunk of the wine of her fornication. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. Well, when they put in a no buy, no sell for you, God puts in a no buy, no sell for them. Let him fight for you. The flood zone. This is the shock and awe. Yeah, I used to watch that. The golden age. Warp speed. That's what's happening in Washington right now. Flooding the zone. Blistering pace. Firing the inspector general. It's a widespread massacre. And anyone hired will be viewed as loyalists. Flooding the zone. I talk about that in the first series. There is a lot of submission. So whoever's left will be forced to submit. Flooding the zone. This is a letter that was sent to one of the attorney generals, General Horowitz, by one of our congressmen. He's saying, hey, you need to investigate this. Shock and awe. Are we okay? No, we're not okay. flooding the zone. So basically now the Department of Justice is saying, you know what? It looks like the it looks like the judicial branch is now ruling the people. So now here they go, they flood the zone, and they're saying, you know what? Now they're going to blame the judicial, the judicial department branch for all the lawsuits. So they caused the problem. Now they're blaming one of the branches for being a problem. So they're attacking one of the branches. This is the same thing. Trump is losing streak in court. She says, oh, those judges need to be removed. So they caused the problem with the flood of all these executive orders, all these things that need to be looked at by judges, and now they're blaming the judges for looking at it. This is Department of Justice. So there is actually a tracker you can track. On March 12th, overall, there was 38%. You can see they break it down into sections. This is how many days and hours at the time was left until they want to finish it. Then March 23, 42% overall. You can see that it breaks down. There's Department of Labor at that time was 28% finished. That's the one with the Sabbath laws, mind you. The death penalty. The death penalty, anytime you see, so the king of the South, the liberals, actually wanted to do away with the death penalty, but when you see the death penalty as a consequence in the book of Revelation, you better wake up on who is actually the one promoting it. Okay? So there's one side that's promoting it. That's what I want to bring. And they said that if it includes the murder of law enforcement or a capital by alien illegals, regardless of other factors, every case should be considered worthy of a death penalty. Which, I can't see bad in that if you want a death penalty, but the question is, should we have a death penalty? I think in the New Testament we have argument that I've not really teased out a lot, that I don't think we should have a death penalty post-cross, but that's me. Other movements, this is just something notable. Birthright citizenship. So if they can take away some citizenship of those that were actually born under the law, then can they take yours? So they want to take the illegal aliens' children's birthright. But if you can retrospectively do that, who's going to stop them from taking yours? Well, the North American Economic Union, this is notable. I started hearing about the 10 parts of the region. Look, there's something that's on the radar right now, right there. And there's Canada. Hey, make them a 52nd state, yeah. There's another map. Injunction lifted on Trump executive order slashing the DEI. You think it's DEI? Let's think of spiritual. Those are really the people that keep, not them, but in the future, it's going to be against the people that keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus. The Jim Crow laws, that's a whole different talk. Taiwan, digital wallet. This is Arkansas. Did you know you can have an Arkansas mobile ID on your phone? Yeah, right there. Official site. So guys, the bridegroom is coming. And we are to meet this iceberg. We're to meet it head on. Jeff introduced me to this term, the blitzkrieg. The blitzkrieg. It's lightning war. That's what Hitler did. Hitler was winning not because of the number he was killing, but because lightning going through the territory. Just cover the territory. Just go through it. Don't worry about shots fired. Just go through it. Ignominy. This is public shame and disgrace. Are you going to be publicly shamed and disgraced? Yes. If you're following Jesus, you will. But we shall not meet it inside with ignominy. Up here, up here. You don't have to feel that. You don't have to feel that. Thank y'all for your patience. This is our YouTube channel. This will be going up on our YouTube channel. I have books back there. This is the 4-part series right here. It's almost 8 hours, almost not quite 8 hours. And this is our information if you want to reach out to us. I'm going to end with prayer. But guys, do y'all see the signs of the times? Yes. If y'all have any questions for the 4-person panel that's going to take place after lunch, we'll come back at like 2:15. I'll give you a whole hour so you can go out and walk. So if you have any questions for the panel, please write them down. There's index cards. Write them down for us, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. Let's bow our heads and pray, and I'm sorry for my little boy running up and down. So while I'm up here, I can't really tend to him like I want to. Father in heaven, thank you for your grace and mercy. Thank you for the time that you've given all of us to be here together. Yes, Lord, I'm just going to go ahead and bless the food. We ask that it nourishes and heals our bodies. Bless the hands that prepared it too, Lord. Father, we want everyone to not only have good food for the healthy body, but spiritual food. And Father, this is a salvational issue because you say to come out of her, my people. Yes. Father, we all want to come out of her because we want to be with you. We want to be married only to you, Lord. And forgive us for our fornications here and there. We ask this for ourselves, our homes, our children, our families and friends. We ask in the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen.
Share those. Yeah.
I heard Jimmy buying lunch, folks. It's on me. Free food right there. So they actually. For the average, if we have a 5-9 win, you're go right in. Yeah. If it's up 10 million or more, that's good. Too good. Wouldn't mind to hear some of the questions. Couldn't help you because, yeah, I don't want to hear that. Is that, are you from the California? Yeah, pretty much here today. Well, I know it is later too, but go eat. How are you folks? Kenny? Jenny? Yeah.
Yeah, I've never used it before. That's what I'm trying to figure out, because I've never used it. Can you tell me about it? So let's see what it comes up
Communion next week. It was supposed to be today, yesterday. But Karen is not. Your piece is not working.
Maybe yes. Yeah, we can put up, we can like shoot art stuff over.
I'll be over there in just 1 second.
Okay, let me move some stuff. And this kid has stuff of his. Does not lesson. I'm the first kid back.
Yes, you better. You better.
We might as well eat by you guys too, since we.
You might as well.
That was a lot of information.
It sure was, but I was just thinking, man,
I was thinking, I'm gonna watch it
it's a lot to
and then
digest.
pause it and think about, what did she just say?
You have to,
And then
yes.
another few seconds, pause it.
Right.
Pretty good, yeah.
And I even heard the longer one in the fall, in
Mhm.
2024. But there's just a lot going on.
Yeah, I was surprised how much I picked up today that I didn't get back in. I know I heard.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the things she said, and I covered this in the fall or in 2024, and I'm like, oh, she did?
Right. I thought the same thing. I thought, I know I